Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed approves government budget for this year. DP World opens first phase of container terminal in Pakistan. And author Donna Marsh tells us the secrets to doing business successfully in the Middle East. The GCC markets ended mixed today and the UAE bourses ended lower. The DFM was down 0.25% to close at the 1,624 mark. In the property sector, EMA Properties rose by over half a percent and Arab Tech fell by over 2.5%. DP World rose over 1.25% and DO was up under 0.75%. 64 million shares were traded, valued at 112 million dirhams. And over in the capital, the ADX lost over 1.75% to close at 2,737 points. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank fell marginally by 0.04%. In the property sector, Alder Properties rose under 0.5% and Suru Real Estate fell under 0.75%. Dana Gas was up over 1.25%. 44 million shares were traded, valued at 76 million dirhams. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and ruler of Dubai, has approved the government budget for this year. The government says it expects to generate nearly 30 billion dirhams in revenue this year against spending figures of 33.5 billion. Although the amount is lower than 2010's budget of nearly 35.5 billion, the revenue is slightly higher than the 29.4 billion projected in the same period last year. Spending plans include 43% allocated to the economy for road and aviation transport, 24% towards social development, including health and education, 11% to the Department of Finance and the Land Department, and 22% to security and justice sectors. Ports operator DP World has launched its new container terminal near Karachi in Pakistan. Terminal 2 at Port Qasim is the first development of a three-phase project the developer is looking to complete and is the largest investment in the port sector in Pakistan. The company's CEO, Mohammed Sharaf, has said that the port will contribute directly to the local community and Pakistan's economy and will handle cargo going to Pakistan and Afghanistan. The development comes at a time where the Southeast Asia region has been forecast to experience double-digit growth over the next 4 years. The next two phases for Terminal 2 will include heavy-duty expansion over the coming years. And we're now joined by financial analyst Bruce Powers to talk about the markets this week. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Good to be here.
Yesterday, we had Portugal selling over 1 billion euros in bonds. The market reacted quite positively. How does the equity market reflect this positive bond sentiment?
Well, certainly in the short term, it seems like investors' fears have been calmed a little bit. But there's a lot of risk still remaining as the trend in interest rates is higher. Now, if we look at Portugal is going to have to sell further debt in the future, and it may not be able to do it at an appropriate interest rate. So a bailout is still possible. They're certainly not out of the woods yet. Now, it's a little unclear how much this may have impacted the world equity markets, but we did have new highs yesterday in the U.S., Bombay is now bouncing off support as it was going down previous to that, and Europe and Asia are both pointing higher.
So it sounds like a very good market environment at the moment.
So far, yeah.
You just said it. Portugal is not out of the woods yet. Also, other countries like Spain, investors are also discussing the debt problems in Spain. What does that mean for the euro? Where do you see the euro heading in the next couple of months?
Well, if we look at the euro, it reached a support level a few days ago, and it's been rising since. It looks like in the near term, if it holds that low, that it should reach up to 133, maybe up to 134. Now, that's looking at the next week to 2 weeks, maybe. Beyond that, it still remains to be seen. The euro is in a downtrend, so until that reverses, the downtrend is assumed to still continue, except in the very short term, we're in a bounce still.
Let's talk commodities. We've seen some tightening in some commodity markets, especially in oil this week, due to a shutdown of an Alaskan pipeline on Saturday. I read a few reports from research companies saying that they increased their price target for oil. Where do you see oil in, let's say, the next 6 months?
Well, oil is very close to a 27-year high right now, and it does look like it's pointing to moving higher. Now, if we look at the technicals, they're indicating that if we break this recent high around 55.5, I believe it was, there's a very good chance we'll get up to 95.5 and maybe as high as 103 within the next 6 months.
We had news out that Alder Properties is holding an investor meeting today. They're discussing asset sales. They are discussing the issuance of convertible bonds. What does that mean for the local UAE market? Investors don't like uncertainty. We heard that also other companies are struggling with their funding. How does that play into the local market at the moment?
Well, the UAE economy is still not out of the woods, particularly because the real estate sector has tremendous imbalance, and that imbalance is likely to continue for a while. So any companies in the sector are being impacted, and it's impacting the UAE economy overall. Financing is still very difficult to come by, so we're likely to see other announcements of how other companies are going to handle this situation. So shareholders may have to take some hits along the way. Now, if we look at the market reaction, both Dubai and Abu Dhabi have reacted negatively, although overall I would say they still have a bullish posture. If we break the lows of this week in Dubai, then the outlook gets much more bearish, and the bearish outlook in Dubai could also pull down Abu Dhabi.
Thank you very much for coming in. Have a great weekend, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
And in our fast financial news, UAE government officials have stated that issuing bounced checks should no longer be a criminal offense, and that insolvency laws must be reviewed in order to attract foreign investment. Fahad Saeed Al-Rakbani, the Director General of the Abu Dhabi Council for Economic Development, said at a conference in Abu Dhabi that the new system should be Sharia compliant and should encourage insolvent companies to file for bankruptcy sooner rather than later. The matter of bounced checks should be clarified throughout personal and corporate bankruptcy laws and courts. Dubai Pearl Exchange held its first ever commercial auction this week. The world-famous pearl producers gathered for the week-long auction, attracting some of the most significant buyers from around the world. June Wrigley tells us more.
We're here at the Dubai Pearl Exchange, where a retail value of approximately 35 to 40 million US dollars worth of pearls is on display at the first ever commercial pearl auction to be held in the UAE. This invitation-only event for leading pearl traders and jewelry manufacturers brought the best of cultured pearls to the region.
Dubai is well known for its trade in a number of commodities, especially gold and diamonds, and now with the entire production from 3 of the largest producers of South Sea pearls being auctioned together for the first time, pearls are the newest commodity to reinforce Dubai's status as a hub for trade.
The world's 3 largest pearl producers, Pas Bailey, Jules Mayer and also Robert Wan, have come together inviting all their clients here. And we've seen in excess of 70 to 100 international buyers coming from all over the world to this unique pearl auction based here in Dubai.
So how does a pearl auction actually work?
Buyers will come, they will grade the pearls themselves, they'll look at them, and they'll complete a form and they'll put it into a box like this. And at the end of the day, the auctioneer will look at all the bids and decide whether the reserve price has been met and whether they wish to sell the goods.
But how are these jewels of the sea created?
We use exclusively hatchery oysters, which means that we raise parents who make babies. It takes about 2 to 3 years for an oyster to mature, after which it's operated. And then if everything goes well, after another 2 to 3 years, we can harvest a pearl. All in all, it's an average of 5 years, for a pearl to come about.
And is there a difference between cultured and natural pearls?
In nature, you would have an average of about 20,000 oyster in the wild. Only one would produce a pearl of jewelry grade, I would say. Whereas in cultured pearl, what we do is we induce actually the phenomenon that triggers the production of the pearl. Both cases, it's the oyster that does the job. We tend to be protective with our oysters, so the success rate of an oyster making a cultured pearl is much higher than what happens in nature.
The pearl is an icon requiring neither enhancements nor polishing and is the only organic living gem that represents real value. It's no wonder that by the early part of the 20th century, before conservation and repopulation efforts began, the Tahitian pearl oyster, which black pearls are cultivated from, had almost been hunted to extinction. Interestingly, these famous black pearls are not actually black.
Basically, our pearls are called the black pearls, which is not really true, because we can have some light colors, some cherry colors, some blue, some greenish.
And how are these major pearl traders finding the Dubai auctions?
The turnout, about I think 40 or 50 clients every day are coming. That's the first success. The second thing is for us, it's a learning experience. We're relatively new, not in the business of pearl, but in the business of holding auctions. And I must say that, the conversion rate is pretty good. People are interested and have been buying quite avidly on certain categories.
I can say that we had a great surprise. We were not expecting this much people. And today is the last day, and usually the last day is the best.
Historically, pearl auctions have been held in Japan and Hong Kong, but it is no surprise that the UAE, with its rich pearling heritage and strategic location, is an ideal location to host the best jewels of the sea. June Wrigley, 7 National News.
Now it's time to take a look at the GCC markets, which ended mostly higher today. Coming up now, let's take a look at currencies against the dirham, followed by the price of oil and precious metals. After the break, we speak to the author Donna Marsh, telling us the secrets of doing business successfully in the Middle East.